naming rights are usually kind of rooted within, the donors. NIL pops up, collectives pop up. The AD that used to be a coach is no longer happening anymore. The commercialization of it, private equity that's entering into it. You know a lot of these folks in college athletics. You've been around it forever. You know the commissioners. You hear and talk to them offline about what are they doing. You're bringing a game over to the UK for the first time, a regular season game in September, Union Jack game. But really talk about, and I assume that's going along the lines of donor engagement, other ways to generate revenue that's outside the box. And you guys are ahead of the curve once again. Talk about what you've seen in just the last 5 years and the conversations you've had about revenue generation, creator networks, things that are changing the way that we engage with alums and fans and players and the whole thing.
Well, you start from the beginning, and you remember when you and I were in college. We were thankful if we got a little bit of a scholarship money, and we saw sponsors. We played in stadiums named after donors or famous coaches, and that was the norm. And then we started to see the some corporate entities starting to move its way into intercollegiate athletics with some naming rights of stadiums and things like that, and that was damn near blasphemous. And now we accelerate to July 1st, 2001, and all of a sudden name, image, and likeness hits, and kids can start making money, using, selling jerseys and doing deals and things like that for ever and a day. You couldn't pay them. They couldn't. You could sell a lot of Grant Hill jerseys for Duke, or you name your favorite player at your favorite school. That number 20 jersey, that number 10 jersey, or whatever, Tim Tebow's 15 jersey at Florida, he didn't get a nickel of the royalties off that. University of Florida cashed all that. So now you see, the players getting to capture that. But what you also see is you saw barriers start to break down, because the first thing that hit was we got a payroll to keep. And forever, for all, not to use an old SMU acronym from back in the day, for the guys that actually that listen to this podcast remember that 30 for 30. But they do. That there's a $20.5 million that they're now required to spend against their intercollegiate athletic programs, and that wasn't there before. And when you have that, you got to drive and create more revenue. So what used to be off limits, field, signage on the field, physically on the field. We saw it at bowl games, but that was pristine space. It was your logo in the middle of the field, maybe the conference logo, and then the logos in the end zone were the school logos. Now you're starting to see brands on the 25-yard lines like you do see in the bowl games. Extend that now to what's going to be starting this year is now the one sacred ground is now the uniform. You're now seeing the branded patches. For those of us that spend a lot of time in the European space, international space, well, soccer jerseys have been on the front of jerseys for decades and years. It was a lot of money. When we started MLS, it was the name of the team on the front. We couldn't sell the front of the jersey back in the day, and now and there are probably alumni and donors that are still gasping at the fact that there's going to be a logo on their alma mater's football jersey or basketball jersey or baseball jersey. That's the economics of today. The old school AD was a former coach. I wrote a thesis in 1992 that said that the future of that position is a CEO, no longer a former administrator or coach, because it's business. It's business. And that's where we are. You're running Fortune 100 companies if you're a Power 4 Division I athletic director or commissioner. The money is crazy. TV contracts, merchandising, ticket sales, sponsorship, media rights. It's crazy. And you got to understand what that means and how to balance that. No, by the way, you've got, depending on your school, 400 to 600 student athletes that are on some sort of payroll. Not under contract, on payroll though. No collective bargaining agreement. They can move freely year to year in a transfer portal that I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but it does create some challenges as you build your team and your organization, how your coaching staffs how they address recruiting and managing their budget. So it is a whole new world